Welcome to Real Estate on the Rocks, where you get top shelf real estate conversations served straight up, never watered down. Here's your host, Dave Snowberger.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Real Estate on the Rocks. My name's Dave Snowberger. I'm in the studio today with the new guy, James Mendez.
What's going on?
And joined by, via satellite, is Marshall Tucker.
Sorry, Dave, slight delay, but I'm here. How you doing?
Is there a slight delay?
From the satellites?
No, not really.
Shit. Just making sure we have everything good and tight. All right, man. So today, Marshall's got to join us via wherever you're coming from, your car. You're out showing property, aren't you?
Yep, on my way.
Very cool, very cool. All right, man, let's talk about some rookie mistakes. We were talking about this earlier today at lunch and just kind of cracking up at some stuff we've been seeing lately and can't believe that some of these people still have careers.
You can do a lot wrong and still survive.
It seems like it these days. Oh, my gosh. Everybody's kind of cool. I guess there's a lot of grace out there where people are like, we're just human.
Yeah.
It's a mistake, I mean, I don't have a roof on my house, but whatever.
I got
We got
yelled
a
at
lot
a
of
couple
cities
of
that are near each other. Pick up, move to a new city.
Right. Okay, so this has actually happened to me before, and a lot of times I have one of my people in my office, I always have them double read the stuff that I read, just because sometimes I read over it so fast, but not reading the contract and what is put in there. And so what I mean by that is, like, I don't read some of the fine details. Sometimes I overlook the home warranties. I overlook, earnest monies, options, the closing dates and things like that. Like, this is a super solid contract. What do you mean you need a 95-day close? And then I present it and I read it as I'm giving it to the seller. And I'm like, oh, I didn't see that 95-day close. Let me call you right back. Let me go call this agent real quick.
I thought it said 9 day. I'm sorry.
That's why I usually have Marshall read all the contracts.
People try and sneak something in there, though, sometimes. Just trying to get, stretch out what they can get or ask if something conveys without actually asking. They just kind of throw it in there and be like, hey.
Right, that's not what we negotiated on. What are you doing?
Right.
Oh, tell them about your the negotiation, how everything went in over the phone or over text, and then a completely different one when you got the contract.
Pardon me?
Yeah.
For the one where she lost her earnest money?
Yeah.
Basically, we negotiated on something. It didn't work out in financing for them. They tried to renegotiate, with a cash deal that's significantly lower, and just wasn't going to their favor. However, they wanted us to extend the closing date, and I had known by looking at the contract that they were going to lose their earnest money, because basically telling me on the day of closing that they wouldn't be able to close the loan. And we'll extend for you, but you need to put it in special provisions that your earnest money has been forfeited at this point. And this is back and forth. And so we just have to protect our clients.
Right. Okay. And so let's clarify that a little bit. Is that by you knowing the contract like the back of your hand, you were very aware of what she was trying to pull or what he was trying to pull. I'm not keeping
I
it
haven't called her out on it. And they still did it.
And they still did it. Right. And then when they came back and they tried to renegotiate for a few hundred, no, not even 100,000, but a few tens of thousands of dollars off the price, you knew what they were up to, right? So, you kind of did what? You just put a stop to it by sending over an email and saying, hey, look, and then I remember I got involved, right? No, this is that one, right?
Yeah.
So I got involved and said, hey, look, man, without contracts, there's no reason to even have us in a transaction. So you have to have a contract.
He said, she said all day long. But at the end, you got to go by the contract.
Right. And so not reading the contract and not knowing what to put in there, or not knowing how to keep up with the contract and certainly keeping in touch with the timing, the dates, everything that's prevalent to the contract, that buyer forfeited their earnest money, which wasn't our client's interest. Right. I mean, they wanted to sell the property.
Yeah.
They wanted
when I was a new
agent,
I could barely, fill out a contract when I was a new agent, let them know all the right dates that everything was supposed to happen or not happen. And so now that, a little bit further along, I know those dates a little bit better now.
Right.
So I know how to protect someone against that.
Right. And that goes to, I don't know how much you did it. However, I remember me sharing my experiences when I first got to being an agent, and I started, I was very scared about the contract. I always never want to look like I don't know what I'm doing. I know this podcast really contradicts that. However, it was that I didn't want to be perceived that I didn't know what I was doing, and I knew contracts, that's a scary word for people, right? Yeah. That can be an intimidating word. This is a binding contract between people.
That's what
I need to
people.
know it, right? Yep. And so I laminated it, and I'd read it every night. I'd keep it by my bed, and I would read one page up, down, and it's great reading for sleeping material if you have a hard time sleeping.
I followed your advice. I did it. I just didn't laminate it.
Right. And so, I laminated it. I think I could still go find that copy of that laminated one somewhere in my room, somewhere in my house. But that helped out. And I started knowing sections of the contract. Like I knew where certain things were, and it was only by reading it over and over and over again. Now I'm not so, 4 years later, 5, 6 years later, actually, I don't work with buyers that much, so I don't see the buyer into the contract on writing them. I read them a lot coming in because I'm on the seller side of things, but I still know where to go look for things. And I know when I spell out something for my sellers that I can go down and just basically create a checklist of like the 10 most relevant things on the contract. And I know what section they're in, and just visually I can go through and highlight them real quick and send that over to my seller. Does that make sense?
It does.
Cool. All right. Well, let's move on from there. So what's another rookie mistake here, James?
Believe what people say without proof. So that happens with people, everything from leasing to buying to selling. People will tell you all kinds of great things. They're fully qualified. They have this much money. They're going to do it this time. They're going to do that. And then when you get down to it, you find out a ton of that stuff isn't true, or maybe they're embellishing a little bit. And you find out so many pitfalls. If you just would have asked in the beginning and got proof, you would have saved yourself so much trouble and heartache and wasted time and energy.
Right. Marshall, how do you deal with that these days when you can kind of feel around a buyer and see if they're serious enough or if they're qualified enough, just in a conversation or two, whether you would put them in your car and show them property? Give me some tips on that.
Well, you got to ask a lot of great questions. I know we go over that time and time again. But, seeing how willing they are to connect with a lender, that's something right there, because your lender will be able to tell you if they're actually having conversations or not, if they actually look like they can afford to buy the house that you're talking about.
Absolutely. I think the interaction they have with the lenders, I know our lender, Mike Harrell, over at Guaranteed Rate, I know a lot of times that he asks questions and he tells us, as soon as I ask him, hey, how's this buyer doing? Or how's Marshall's buyers doing? How's buyer A, buyer C, buyer D? And he'll always say buyer A is awesome. They've got me all the information. They're ready to go. We should be able to close them by whatever time your green light to go look at this weekend. Buyer D and buyer C
hasn't answered my phone all week.
Yeah, like they're not really returning my calls. They've got me no documents. I can't give you a pre-qual letter because I can't go off what they're saying. The first conversation was kind of, they wouldn't be straight with me. And we know right there that we shouldn't spend a lot more time on them. We'll kind of put them in the not so hot category and work them, not as maybe is aggressively the right word? Not as aggressively as we would that someone that really wants to get into something quick, because we know in our market, we've got to have you qualified and ready to roll
quickly.
Yeah. Cause average days on the market here is 25.
Yeah.
You got anything to add to that, Marsh?
Nope, not that part.
What about you, James?
Yeah, no, just you're not going to be, we're not as proactive with people that aren't as proactive with them, with their situation and their the transaction that they say that they want to do.
Right.
You're supposed to meet them halfway. You're supposed to be actively working with them through it. And if they're not in there with you and going to towards it, wanting to shop for property, that's a good indication. And you should be mindful of it.
Right. Okay. So say now you got them under contract, or you're kind of you've been looking through property, whatever else. It's time to write a contract. This is a huge rookie mistake of knowing what will and will not convey. Have you had to eat any money over there, Marshall? Have you had to cough up any money yet? I think you have.
I don't think I've coughed up any money yet, but as far as that's definitely setting the stage for your client. So I got a lot of out-of-state buyers, and one of them from Nebraska. Apparently, the refrigerators stay with the property. Here in Texas, the refrigerators do not necessarily stay; they're negotiable. So I think I kind of just flew past it kind of quick. I did mention it, but it's not something that really stuck with them when they were hearing all that information coming at them. So setting the stage as far as what conveys in Texas and what doesn't convey, I always make sure to set that stage now.
Right. And so
it's the same thing with inspection report, while we're on there. So.
Yeah. The what will convey, will not convey is not necessarily a tricky one. Basically, if it's not bolted to the wall, it goes with the seller. If it sticks to the wall, it stays. And so, right. And that's in Texas, and that's where we are. So, you really need to know whatever market you're selling in, what does convey and what doesn't convey. And I believe you have coughed up money, Marshall, because I think I've cut the check before, but
what?
Curtain rods,
curtains, and TV mounts.
I did. Okay, so I never. If you would have asked me to bet any amount of money on a contract that has curtains conveying or not, I would have bet the farm that they don't convey.
Written standard in. Yeah.
Oh man, they can. And people have lost. Someone was saying
people love their curtains.
Bought like over $3,000 worth of curtains.
Oh yeah.
It blew my mind.
Yep.
Had no idea.
What, the curtains cost that much? Or
I mean, no, that they would go at the house, or people that they don't, and people expect them to go like little things that the expectation is there, and the agent said, "Oh yeah, you get this and you get that, or this will be there," not knowing.
Yeah.
And out comes a checkbook at the end.
No, we've actually had that happen. We've actually had a seller, we told her to remove the curtains. She wanted them so bad and wanted to take it with them. And we, said, hey, basically, if you want to take it, if you have anything that you want to go with you, before we go on the market, remove it. So they don't see it. So because the minute they see it and the minute you tell them you can't have it, they're going to want it.
Yeah.
And so you need to remove the curtains, and she didn't. And then of course it came down to closing time, and this is I won't call a seller by her name, Marshall, but we sold their property and then sold them a house. Remember, they went from a huge 2-story with like 24-foot windows looking out the back, custom curtains, to a 1-story house with just regular standard windows in it. What are you going to do with the curtains? Like, she fought tooth and nail for these curtains that she was taking them, and the people wanted them. Obviously, they didn't want to replace them.
Yeah.
And so they're just moving in here from, once again, California. They're moving to Austin from California, and they just want curtains. They want to be able to have some privacy, maybe cut out the whole sunset that goes down and burns up the living room, or puts a cast of shadow on their TV.
Yeah.
They just wanted the curtains, and she would not give them up. I'm like, what are you going to do with them? They're 24 feet long, and you've got like 6-foot windows, if even that. And so finally, after a lot of teeth pulling, whatever else, she left the curtains. She left the curtains.
Oh man.
She's still one of Marshall's favorite clients. Still one of my favorite clients. I saw the husband at the car wash the other day, and he's like, you guys don't call us anymore.
Got curtains for sale?
Yeah, I was like, funny curtains. I'll call somebody. All right, so moving on real quick. Answering questions about other
professions.
That's a big one right there, actually. Yeah. Lending questions. Home inspection questions, contractor questions,
foundations. I got asked one, questions. And then I answered. I was like, well, it's not. That's not my profession. This kind of, I don't know where it is, but I gave kind of an answer with not giving any, concrete detail. And I told him, like, you need to get somebody to come check it out, just across the board. Oh man, did I get yelled at when I got back?
Yeah.
I was like, well, I wasn't telling him, like, I am a professional, like, you should say nothing. I was like, okay.
In my opinion, you need to speak with your lender.
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest things you could learn as a rookie agent coming in, is that you should preface everything you say with, in my opinion. In my opinion is this, in my opinion is that, how it's worked for me in the past, and really, really just hone in on that, because I've had people come back to me and was like, you said this. And I was like, no, I didn't. I said, in my opinion, that would be a great, whatever relates to that conversation.
Yeah.
And I remember going back and forth with somebody, and he was like, you know what? He's like, yeah, you did say that. What was your opinion? I was like, yeah, that's right. Cause I learned early in this game was just to state my opinion, because nothing, if you put your name on it, it's yours. You own it. No. Right.
Yeah. You just get trapped into it because you're trying to be helpful, and you care about your client. You want to, you're looking in their best interest, and sometimes doing so.
And I'm almost my destination, but to segue off that part, James, is I have missed opportunities before because it's been, say, 10:30, 11:30 at night, and my client interested in the home. I was like, yeah, we'll get it in the morning. Nothing's going to happen from 11 o'clock at night now until tomorrow. And then go to find out, we talked to the agent, and the agent's like, well, we put that under contract late last night, like midnight. And it's like, what? and I got to break it to my client that house that they saw that we've been looking for 6 months, and this is the house finally popped up, went under contract last night when I told you it wouldn't. So missed opportunity. So whenever you see something, always reach out to the listing agent. Always reach out to somebody. Find out what's going on. You know, if they're asleep, they won't answer you. But yeah, missed opportunities.
Definitely. Are you already? You're at your house. You're about to show.
Yeah. They're
right.
not quite here yet, though.
All right, we'll hang out with us for a little bit longer, and when you got to go, you got to go. Just tell us goodbye. But answering questions about other professionals, for me, that was when I first got in it. I realized that buyers, and especially first-time buyers, needed a lot of hand-holding, and so they would ask questions, and they just want general information that you would really kind of put out there. We already discussed this a little bit. However, I'm going to give you my 2 cents. Is they would do that. They would ask me lending questions, and I would try to answer, and I just couldn't. So I'm like, I just adapted the statement. That's a great question. Let me find out and get back to you. Instead of telling them, no one wants to deal with anybody that doesn't know something. However, I think they respect it more, and it conveys better if you tell them like, hey, that's a great question. Let me reach out and I'll circle back and give you an answer. Yeah. And then they respect that. So I really developed that, and I integrated that into like everything that I say. So if I don't know something, I won't fudge my way through it unless it's a podcast. All right. So next rookie mistake here is thinking clients understand the process. That kind of plays off the one we were just on. However, the clients understanding the process. We do this every day for a living. You were in the car the other day, both of you guys, I think, when I was on a conversation with one of my sellers, and I was very thorough in my explanation. And it was almost, it seemed almost like a remedial, maybe elementary style conversation, because I'm going through it very delicately and just telling them every single fact of the contract or why we're doing this, right? Yeah. And I think that actually, I just wanted to make sure with you two guys in the car that it conveyed well, that it was a good conversation, and I wasn't treating them like toddlers or anything that they didn't know. But like, I do this every day and I take for granted. And it took me selling my parents' house when they were just kind of like, my parents were like, slow down, dude. Like, you're acting like we know this stuff, you know, like, what does this mean? And what does this mean? And what does this mean?
Right.
So I was doing that when I was a rookie. I would just fumble through things thinking that the client understood the process, and they didn't. And so as soon as I slowed it down, I think I gained a little bit more respect from some of my clients, or most of my clients, or all of the clients, you know, was that, yeah, this guy takes his time and he lets me know, like, you guys know me, I speak in bullet points, and sometimes that's not how everybody wants to communicate. However, I can slow the bullet points down and make them a lot more relevant to the conversation, and it comes more, it's more understanding for that client. So the rookie, when I got in here, was just kind of get through it. And they understand it. Obviously they've bought houses before. They know. They didn't know, you know? And so I would see them get frustrated or be at the closing table and start asking questions to maybe the closer or whatever else. And the title company, and the title company would look at me like, dude, did you not explain this to them? I'm like, no. I'm just here for my check.
Yeah. I just want to get paid.
Right. And I'm not that way anymore. You know, I mean, that was a rookie mistake to act like that or to be like that. You know, I just didn't understand the business fully and how delicate the situations were. So,
but I think the speed and going through that, you know, relates to the next point, is not knowing the entire process themselves to be able to convey that to your client.
Right. Do you know the total process yourself?
I think I mean, I know a good portion of it. I mean, I've been through it a couple of times. I don't think I have it mastered. Like if I had to line out the entire process right now, I'd probably miss a couple things.
Right.
I know. Go ahead, Marsh.
In my rookie year, I remember, you know, getting clients and they were like, let's offer this on that. And say, okay, cool. So I started writing the contract up, and it's like, well, you know, how much down do you want to put? Well, I don't know. How much down should I put? Well, I don't know. And kind of going back and forth. And then we get say we get an offer in, and then they're like, well, what do I do now? I was like, well, you got to get an inspector, $400. What? Or you got to get it appraised. And what? You know, all these little hidden costs that start coming up. It's like, well, you don't have the money for that? Well, man, you didn't tell me I needed that. You said I needed this much down. Well, yeah, you need that down, but you need money for the inspector too.
Yeah, so you certainly didn't understand the process, and neither did they. So it's kind of like the blind leading the blind back then. However, that's not the case anymore, and that goes to show you with time and to fail forward and learn from your mistakes and learn from the things you weren't doing right. You've really honed it in, because right now I would say that I'm kind of impartial, but to put you up pound for pound against other agents, like, you're on top of your shit. You know what I mean? Like, when you submit an offer, you've got a cover sheet in there that basically states the offer, so they don't even have to open the contract contract and look for any surprises. You have everything up
Presentation.
there. Like it is.
All the details.
It's slick, it's sharp, and it's who I look for. When I get offers like that, and especially a multiple offer, I won't even sometimes, I'll tell the sellers, look, hey, look, we just got 3 offers. They're all about the same, but I'm telling you right now that I think this agent just presented himself so well, and he brought his clients in so qualified and really showed me what he had and put his best foot forward. I would say let's just go with him and not even take it to multiple offer and try to get a little bidding war going. Let's just go with it, you know? And I know that you've had your offers always picked over people, which is really great. And you've created a great name for yourself out there. And I think that's why you win in that referral game.
All right, guys, I got to go. My clients are on time.
Uh-oh. Oh, I'm out. All right, see you, buddy.
Bye.
All right, so let's keep it rolling here for a few minutes, James. Not putting things into writing. Huge rookie mistake. Huge rookie mistake. Not putting it in writing.
Yeah, you want to give people the benefit of the doubt. You want to think that they are going to be honest, upfront, trustworthy with you through the process. Either your client, the listing, or the other agent on the other side of the table, their client. You want to think that people are going to act, in a good way, and then you start finding out. Yeah, they said something, but that's not what you're getting back, or that's not what's going to be in the contract or in writing, and so that. Well, one of the biggest things with the putting in the writing thing is it jumps back up to those things that convey. Yeah. You talk about, we're going to leave you the refrigerator. Assumption. Yeah, we're going to leave you the refrigerator, and even a lot of times we'll get non-realty item addendums and we'll state refrigerator. We've seen unscrupulous people, take the nice refrigerator and leave the crappy one in the garage, the beer fridge in the garage, leave that behind. I've heard stories. Then the argument is like, well, you didn't specify which one. So we learned early to write serial numbers down, take pictures of things, say state clearly in the document, like the stainless steel Samsung refrigerator that's located currently in the kitchen. Serial number this. Stays in the house. Like we've gone that far because we've had to because of agents not really putting things in writing and just guaranteeing things they can. Yeah. A lot of times we come from that place of that space of contribution. So a lot of times we want the deal to close. So if there's anything hanging up, man, we'll typically eat it or work it out. We've had it before where we had to buy a fridge. The fridge that was there that they wanted was $3,300. Guess what? We bought it. Yep. $3,300. Now the commission was $33,000, so it didn't hurt that bad. Yeah. However, it still hurts. It's still $3,000. Yeah. But that was by not having things in writing and me trusting somebody that it was going to be there. They spoke out of line, they spoke out of turn, and the representation wasn't there, and they didn't have a good relationship with their seller. They just wanted to get the deal done because guess what? On the other side, there was a $30,000 commission as well. Yep. They just wanted to get their money and run, and so it sucked for them. So anyway, so that was a tough mistake. We've had everything from TVs, chandeliers, like we've had family heirlooms, right? Oh yeah, that. And then they take them down, and it wasn't in writing. And the agent and I, or just not even me, these are other agents out there that I've had conversations with, have had these conversations. Well, that's a family heirloom chandelier. We had talked and said it wasn't going to stay, and you agreed, and now it's gone, and now we're having to pay for something else up there or return the chandelier or be sued because we didn't have it in writing, and so that's a tough one. Yeah. And so typically, I would think that the people would almost welcome a lawsuit. Like if you want to waste your time going after my chandelier that's been in my house my family for 100 years, go right ahead. However, just get everything in writing. Yeah. There's some things that are left, or you can negotiate. I mean, that's one of the cool things about the contract. You can negotiate anything. I've seen the wall mounts for TVs, stereos, different kind of things that people have projectors. Have said, that they're it's designed for the house. So, barbecue pits. Yep. We had a stint one time with a barbecue pit that was a lot of times in Texas here we're stubbed out for natural gas on the patios. Yeah. And the barbecue will go into it. We got into a knockdown drag out with somebody, and this is my girlfriend's kid's dad. I sold his house, and he wanted his grill. He got it for Father's Day, which is really a random, weird conversation because whatever. We'll just move on with the story. But it's like he got it for Father's Day, and he was definitely taking the grill. However, they thought since it was basically through attached to the wall with a pipe that it conveyed, and like this person was just hell bent on getting that grill, and it was like, all right.
I know for a fact the barbecue pit doesn't stay, but get your broker and let's go. And like, it's not in writing, and just like, we don't have it here. It's not a part of the contract. It's not staying with the house.
Yeah.
And they thought the whole time, basically how it was explained to them that if they, basically shook the house upside down and it stayed with the house, then it conveyed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a TV mount, anything mounted like the stove or microwave.
I get the thought process behind it, but then that's where you lead in with writing it down, talking to the people, having that initial conversation. Like some people want to give a lot of stuff. Like we have the one that's coming live in August. He says everything conveys. You can have the entire everything, the couches, the beds, the chairs.
We got to have it in writing.
He said they can take everything except for the paintings. He wants to negotiate on those, but he's like, take it. I don't care. So you can get both sides, but it still comes down to what you write down.
Yeah. And if you want it, ask for it, and put it on a non-realty item addendum, or tell your people they're going to have to, open their pocketbooks. The buyers, a lot of times, like I said, we represent the sellers and quite a bit transactions, quite a few transactions. And one of our sellers was just kind of taken aback, was like, is this the new way people do real estate? Was that they come after your house and they want all your stuff to go with it? Like, he wants my fridge, he wants my projector, he wants my barbecue grill, and then they want my workbench outside. And then they just said this whole list of things they wanted. And then they came in like 10 grand under also. It's like, at least if you're going to ask all those things, don't insult the guy and give him a full price offer.
Yeah.
And you want this stuff,
That's crazy.
But, I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of rookie agents running around these days, and that's who we're kind of geared at. However, I don't want to deal with anyone that's really kind of unscrupulous or not at least here to learn the business the right way.
Some ethics and values when you're doing things.
Right. Yeah. And so
one of the things that actually touches a rookie mistake that touches a bunch of these points, we had touched on it or had the conversation about it before in an earlier podcast, calling the listing agent or the agent on the other side of the transaction and asking what that person wants. So if you're the buyer,
what's important to the seller?
Yeah. Through, if just getting that money is important, great. Do you care about the furniture? Do you care about the fridge? Do you care about, there's a barbecue on the back?
Do you need a lease
bench?
back?
Do you need a lease back? Asking those questions, I would have never thought that. I mean, yes, I knew to ask some questions and have a conversation about the offer and what their position is.
Right.
But I didn't think that they would just tell me all the stuff, which, I mean, unless it hurts their client, they'll tell you they can tell you motivation. They can tell you what can or can't go, what they're willing to work on. They'll give you a wealth of information. And I've been sitting there next to other agents who are on the phone asking, my girlfriend, who's a buyer's agent, or does both, but on this transaction, she was a buyer's agent, called the guy and said, hey, this is what we're thinking. This is the offer. I know we're in multiple situations. What do you have here? Like, what do you need? What's most important? And it happened to be one of the agents in our old office, and they went back and forth and had some good conversation. She revised, and was able to, everybody revised, but she was able to win because of a normal conversation she had that he probably told everybody else. Whoa. But they didn't act on it they didn't make the effort to do what he told them they should do.
Yeah, that's how this business should be. We're real estate agents where we act as fiduciaries. You're fiduciary or you're functionary. Yeah. A functionary just is transactional. They just do the transaction. A fiduciary runs through, asks lots of questions, represents their client in the best way, doesn't try to get over on the other side, and really comes to a win-win situation and to where it's a win for both. You can achieve that by asking questions and being a fiduciary and coming from that contribution point to where it's an information grab, right? And then you sit there and with the other agent and you guys talk and you should hash it out. It's almost like, basically two attorneys, two professionals sitting there and bantering back and forth with each other, that if we can get to here or we can get to here, it's not collusion. It's not anything like that. And I think so many people are worried about that collusion part of this was that they don't want to give the other side too much information. I can't tell the other side that because they're going to know, they're going to see that I'm weak in negotiations. Get the hell out of here with that. You should really be able to sit here and banter back and forth, lock yourselves in a room for a lack of better terms. However, through a phone call, whatever, or text messaging, like most agents like to do these days, and work out the details. So there's not more back and forth. So there's more of a paper trail. There's more of some more context to the situation. There's more context to the conversations about what's going on. You show up with your best foot forward. They accept your best foot, and then you go under contract, and then you move down the road to get everybody on to the next chapter of their lives.
Yeah.
It's not about this, like, who's a better agent, who can negotiate better. I do that a lot. Like, my pulse starts raising when I negotiate.
Yeah.
Especially when I negotiate against assholes, And so, I hate, dropping 4-letter words. However, it's like when I negotiate against jerks, that just shows me they can't negotiate. They can't talk to another person. They can't have a great conversation and try to achieve the goals of our customers, our clients.
Yeah.
Our sellers, our buyers. This is who this is about. Too many people make these transactions about us.
I was just about to say that. As soon as you started going there, yeah.
And so,
but I mean, in major corporations, they're not, having a quick little conversation or like poke back and forth and be like, well, we can't really talk to you. We can't have much of a dialogue. No, they go in a conference room and go back and forth, and they're hammering out the conversation and negotiations. Well, what about this point? And they'll go item by item at like laundry list of points. And then they'll take notes and they'll come back and they'll argue each point or multiple points, and they'll kind of group some together or, spread them out. Like, well, we'll give you a little bit here, but you're giving us something here. And it's just a back and forth. And they're pretty much putting a lot of the stuff on the table.
Certainly.
It's just how negotiations work, but you can't actively negotiate through anything if you don't actually understand. I mean, you can do it successfully if you don't understand the full scope of what you're.
And if you just have closed ears and thinking that you're going to lose a negotiation and your ego's in the way, you're going to lose, period.
Anyway, yeah.
And so it's like we're talking about this new way we're looking at doing offers.
Yeah.
Right. So we're looking at doing 15-day closes and coming in strong and having conversations with people and telling them this. And all the blowback we're going to get is from agents. It's going to not ever be from a seller.
Yeah.
It's going to be from an agent saying, my client will never go for that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, it's not up to you. It looks like you just shut me down and don't want to have a conversation with me. You don't want to have a dialogue with me. So why don't you go over and please ask your seller if they would consider this? And if so, I'll write the offer. It'll be in within an hour and we'll get moving. And I'm going to return you a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 earnest money in a 15-day close. Like, with a whatever option and whatever else. And we're going to move very fast in this thing. And this is exactly what you wanted. We're giving you $5,000 over, $10,000 over, and we're coming in hot.
Yep. The only thing you should care about is it going to be completed?
Yeah. Oh, we're going to take offers until Monday. Why? I'm giving you $10,000 over.
Yeah.
Well, because we could get better. You could, but you could also not.
Yeah.
So
and this one could expire.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, it does.
So my mission right now is like I kind of went on a little side bender there. However, my mission right now is to try to teach agents and help agents. Yeah. I don't really want to teach them anything. I want to help them along and just say, hey, look, you don't have to act like this. You can have an ego without being a jerk. Yeah. You can have an ego without being conceited. You can have an ego and still listen. The biggest thing everybody needs to do is listen. Yeah. Right. And so I think if more agents knew how to listen and actually came from the spot of like abundance and really coming from the whole place where they are more of the fiduciary than the functionary. Yeah. I haven't talked about fiduciary and functionary in a while.
I know.
But they're more of the fiduciary. It puts them in a better position as a professional. I think it helps out the referrals in the long run. It shows you're more of a professional. It shows that you were there. You had an open mind towards a lot of things. You work towards the common goal of buying the property or selling the property.
Which is important because you're eventually going to be on the other side of that transaction than the person you already had to deal with. Like you said, when you look for the offer and you're seeing who put it together and how it's put together. Now, if you're on the opposite side of that and that person comes back around, what are your first thoughts?
Right.
That already happened on that end. What's going to happen on this end?
Yeah.
Same thing.
That's why I love going into deals, man. And I make sure, we've talked about it before, but I've heard our agents in the past maybe get frustrated in a conversation and not necessarily say anything belittling, but it just kind of like maybe inappropriate, like, or sigh, like, doing that on the phone. Like if I ever hear one of my agents do that or one of our admins do that, like I get really frustrated. It's like, man, watch how you treat people because this is a small town. As big as Austin's getting, it's still a small town. And definitely, even though there's 16,000 agents running around, there's only so many of them that are producing, And so we deal with the same professionals all the time. Treat people how you want to be treated. Yeah. Right. And so that's my whole thing. I'm not talking like some kumbaya thing or anything like that. Just be a professional. This is your craft. learn it.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Yeah. No, it's
most
important.
people right now are fumbling through it. And I say if there was a market change tomorrow and the market went to shit, I'm telling you, half the business would be gone. Half the realtors in the United States would be gone.
I think more.
I'm just being nice.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why I'm shaking my head. I was like, "You're being nice."
Right. And I think the ones that would hang around more would be the people that are new to the business, that are willing to learn and willing to come from contribution and want to learn the business and want to get along. Our job is to sell homes, right? It's to facilitate our clients' ability to buy a home, sell a home in a timely fashion, right? To be professional, to make the experience easier than they can do it themselves, right? There's all this talk about the iBuyer stuff, and these companies are coming in right now because there's a need for them. Because there's been unscrupulous agents in the past. There's been people out there that have taken advantage of the situation or not provided great customer service, and just really, there's people who've gotten rich off being lazy.
Yeah.
Just paying for leads, getting leads, and just turning and burning, and never customer service, and orphaning their clients down the road. That's out there. That exists.
Oh yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
Think it always will.
Probably.
I was on a listing appointment the other day. I'll wrap it up here in a second. I was on a listing appointment the other day, and we sold the twin brother's home. So he calls us. We go to it, and he tells us right off the bat within the first 30 seconds that he rates real estate agents just under used car salesmen.
That's flattering.
I laughed.
Oh.
Took a sip of my water, and then engaged him in a debate. And he's from New York. And I said, okay, well, this is Texas. Right there. You're going a step above. Sorry, everybody from New York. However, I'm just kidding around. I'm just kidding. But, it's he said he had people, it was the worst experience he ever had using an agent before. It's like, it wasn't there, wouldn't answer his phone calls, anything like that. Sold a $300,000 house. It was a 7% commission. So he was out a lot of money. People were banging on his door all hours of the day. He had someone pull up in his yard and knock on the window, pull up in his yard in a car, pull up so close like a drive-through window and knock on it and say, "Yoo-hoo, is anybody here?" And when he looked out, she took off.
Oh man.
Yeah, she had a real estate sign on her car. Craziest stories he was giving me, and I'd like to think they were all true. But
that's dangerous in
it
Texas.
was crazy. But I sat there and tried to change his mind. And at the end of it, what'd I get?
Listing.
Yeah, I got a signed contract, and we're going to sell him a house too. So we're going to sell his house for right about $380, and we're going to sell him a house at $550. So by taking my time and not being, putting up my defenses and saying, you just called me a used car salesman, or worse than a used car salesman. I like used car salesmen. Yeah. I like salesmen. It's a great trade.
Yeah. It's all the negative, the high pressure, the lack of service, the constant, it's all the horrible stuff that they hear and experience is what's brought everybody a bad name.
Yeah. And so anyway, just I hope this enlightened you with some rookie mistakes out there. We're going to keep talking about this stuff. Sometimes we just have to turn on the mics and get the stuff off of our chest to end out a great week. However, if you have any ideas for us, reach out to us at info@realestateontherocks.com. If you're in need of a great lender, Mike Harrell. Look him up on Facebook. Mike Harrell, great guy. Yep. He's with Guaranteed Rate. He's a lender out here in Texas, and he's I'm calling him lately I've been calling him a lending ninja. So stupid, but I wonder what he thinks when I say this stuff and he listens to the episodes. He sits in his office shaking his head.
Probably.
It was like, I'm paying for this.
Yeah.
Awesome guy.
I sponsored that.
Yeah, exactly. Text Top Shelf to 88000-88000. Just text Top Shelf if you got some ideas for us or want to have a conversation with us. I'd love to talk real estate with you. What we're doing right here is basically when you do that, you call into us. One of us will give you a call back. Me, James, Marshall. If you want to talk to somebody specifically, just drop it in there. If you want to talk to Alicia, let me know, and we'll have that person give you a call and maybe have a one-on-one with you. If you're thinking about hopping out of the business, if this isn't for you, let's have a conversation first and see if we can maybe put you on the right track to get into business, get into action.
Yep.
Start making some money at this thing. Anyway, I could ramble on all day long. Love this microphone.
It's a nice new one.
Yep. All right. Real Estate on the Rocks. We appreciate it. See you next time.
Bye.